Hello, welcome to How to Draw Celtic Knots. I'm your host Jason Bellchamber. Today I'd like to show you the steps involved in drawing a perfectly proportioned Triskele knot, a little simple trillium knot found in Celtic artifacts beginning in about the 6th century in Scotland on Pictish stones. You're going to need a straight edge, a good quality compass, an eraser, a fat and a thick marker, and possibly a hard pencil, something like a 3H. Put your ruler on the page. Mark a horizon line. Mark a little dot basically in the center of the page. Take your compass. What you're going to do is pick a point on the horizon line to radiate about and draw a circle. Now, pick another point that intersects on the circle and your horizon line and draw another circle. Great. Now, radiate about this point where the two outer circumferences of the circle intersect. Notice that this line will intersect here and here. So if you imagine, you can start to see the trillium shape. Now we're going to make this into a knot. The way we're going to do that, put your line, or put your point back and make your radius a little bit smaller. Make it as small as you wish. I wouldn't make it too small, but just a little bit. Maybe about 1/4 to 1/5 of your previous radius. Starting here, mark another line like so, like this. Go back to another one of your points. Mark another line here to here. And then one at this point. There, we're starting to see it. Okay, now take your fine point marker. Starting at the points here and here, just draw the outer edge. But stop fairly close there like this. Right, because this one is going to go over and alternate and create that illusion of a never-ending Celtic knot. This goes under, so the next one is going to alternate and go over. Have it stop about the same distance away from the next intersection point. Great. Now, we're going to start here. Over. And then stop before it would go under. There, just like that. It stops right there. And it makes this, using a compass makes a really ideal looking Triskele design. The Celts weren't the only masters of the compass. The way to construct an old compass, you could even just use a string with a stylus on the other end. So now you're starting to see the perfectly proportioned Triskele. Drawing it freehand is fun too. But this way just makes the eye think it's magic. That is just so perfect. Another design secret that we have in our modern age in illustration is actually shrinking the design by using a photocopier. There, now you see the outline. What I'm going to do next is just make this a little bit thicker on the outside before we use the fat marker. So there's two ways of doing this. What I'm doing is making the ribbon of the knot positive. But in my next segment, I'll show you how to make it negative. Or black. Just do the outside here. Excellent, almost done. One of my problems is when I draw, I tend to study my hand with my pinky, and I just got to be careful not to make any smudge marks with the pen or the ink before it's dried. Okay, one more side after this. Now, just to make this pop out, use my fat marker just to shade in that spot to 100% black, and just look how the positive space seems to float above. The eye really likes to look at things like this because it just doesn't make sense. Great. I'm just going to make a uniform line all the way around. I remember back in my days when I was making comics just for fun, I found that a technique that cartoonists use is by drawing something and shrinking it with a photocopier by 10 to 15%, and that just makes it look impossible to draw perfectly. So, next, you really want to make sure it's dry. And just lightly erase your pencil marks. Don't go hog wild, because the eraser will make the ink portion a little less dark if you go crazy. But there you go. How to draw a perfect Triskele by using a positive ribbon.